Hello everybody, my name is Michael, and in today's video what we're going to be doing is this right here. So if that looks exciting to you guys, please carry on and watch the video. Oh, and just one more thing before we go. Please consider like, commenting, and subscribing if you enjoyed the video. But now with all that out of the way, let's carry on with the video. Okay, so just before we get started painting up our blue Slaad here, just to let you know that I've added a bit of ground texture to the base. And just given that overall primer, the exact same primer that I've used for the miniature. But with that, what we want to do is we want to start off with the base color of our blue Slaad. And of course we're going to need a blue for this. And we want to use a nice dark blue, and that's why I've gone with Deep Blue by Army Painter for this. To give it that nice sort of mid-tone, but also be dark enough for that base layer. And of course what you want to do is give the whole over miniature basically a complete covering with the deep blue, except for I'm just going to leave it in a couple spots. So just basically under the belly we want to be doing a nice little effect there with a different color and put in a bit of a transition, so we want to be leaving that alone too. And also too, while you're painting up this blue on here, he's got a lot of like bumps and boils and stuff on his back. Make sure you definitely get in there with the brush and give them a good covering too. It's very easy to accidentally skip over the bit as you're going through, but if you go over with two thin coats, you'll be able to cover it no problem. Then once we have that base blue down, you can see we're going to come in with another color, and we're going to be using Orc Blood for this, which is sort of purpley pinkish color. I'm going to be using that for his underbelly. And you can see too, I didn't just go with the underbelly for this too. I also used a bit underneath his throat and mouth too. So if you want to copy what I've done here, leave those little bits blank too. It's just going to save us with painting a lot of extra layers that we don't need to do, especially with our Orc Blood. My Orc Blood is very thin, so we want to try and mitigate as many layers as we can and wait for that drying time between the layers. So just leave little bits out like that. And then what we want to do, of course, is paint those bits in. Now this is going to take a couple of extra layers just because mine's so thin. Whatever color you use here, or if you use the same, just be aware that you're going to need to do a few coats there to get that nice and even with our dark blue. Then once we've got that base color of his underbelly nice and in there, we're going to come in with some druchii violet, which is a purple wash. I'm going to be using this for the entirety of the miniature, so that includes the blue areas as well. What it's going to do is give it a nice rich purple color once it's all dried in there, and help tie those two colors together. So it's a good way for making them tie in together nicely. So you got that little bit of purple in the blue, and of course you got the purple on purple there, so it's going to help tie them in since we've got those two separate colors, and really hopefully help bring what we want to have a sort of smoother transition than a harsh underbelly to a very dark color for the rest of him. So it's just all in trying to get that as close as we can. Of course, giving a nice overall coat too, and being careful to avoid too much pooling where all those sort of boils and lumps are on his back too. So just making sure we get a nice good overall coat. Then once our wash is completely dry, what we're going to do is come back in with Orc Blood again, because now our Orc Blood is going to be a lighter tone than we have for our color, because we placed that wash on there. And it's just a matter of going around and picking out all the highest points, and you can see on this miniature it's actually quite nicely detailed with those sculpted muscle areas, and quite easy to pick out a lot of the high points of the miniature. So it's just going around and building up those layers to give that a nice look where it's going to like pop out at you and really highlight those areas. So spend a bit of time here going around picking out the muscles, and of course we want to be just hitting most of the top areas and leaving in the deepest recesses like the creases and that in between in shadow. So it's just a matter of building that up, and hopefully it will come out with a very nice effect and give it that really bold look that we're trying to go for. Then once we have that underbelly complete with those highlights, we're going to come in now with Warlock Purple, which is even brighter purple than we had just before. And of course we want to be doing the same thing, but this time even less of doing it on the highest point. So it's sort of leaving a little bit of gap where we see the previous layers that we've just done. It may be a little bit hard to see on camera, a little bit easier to see in person. So we're just avoiding just some of the areas and picking up even higher points, and that's going to really help define those muscles, especially from a distance, because I'm going quite bold with this than I usually do with my highlights, just so I want to try to paint up a different effect and make it really strong, bright and vibrant highlights and stuff on there. Just go for a different painting style than I usually do, and this is hopefully going to help bring it out, especially since we've got those nice defined muscle areas. Then once we have those areas all picked out, we're going to come back in with our deep blue now. And we're going to be doing basically the exact same thing we just did with our underbelly, and that is of course hitting the high points. And as you can see again, it's probably a little bit hard to see on camera where the points will be picking up, but as we go to lighter and lighter colours, you'll be able to see it more and more. But there is nicely sculpted detail on here with sort of like a nice shapes and definitions that we want to be picking out, especially like on the arm and that here. And also too, with the highlights that I'm doing here, especially on the arms, I'm just doing it on the top side of the arms where the sun would sort of naturally hit. I'm not bothering about doing like underneath the armpit or the underside of the arm like that, because that part's going to be in shadow, and I'm doing this for the highlighted areas, of course, so to help make it look a little bit more realistic, and also just jump out at you, even more with those nice bold highlights. And it's just a matter of going in and picking them out, but of course trying to avoid the recesses as much as possible. Then once we have those highlights all picked out, it's time to come in with an even bolder colour. I'm going to be using crystal blue to do this, which of course is a lot brighter colour than what we've been using, so it's going to stick out quite nicely. And as you can see here, all these sort of lumps and bumps he has on his back, I'm only picking those out individually so we get a nice speckly look, especially right here where his skin is the roughest. But of course, while doing that too, I'm also going to be going for the highlighting parts with the bold shapes that he has on him, and giving those really highest points a paint over as well. And of course, making sure that we keep just a little bit of that highlight we applied underneath in the last step visible as well. So you can see there's a little bit of a transition there. A little bit hard to explain on camera, especially since the colors are so similar with those first two layers. But you get more, I mean, as you're going along, and you'll be able to see it a little bit easier as the steps progress. Okay, so now with those highlights on his upper body done and completed, we're going to come in now with some squid pink, and we're going to be using this for the inside of our Slaad's mouth here. Nice big bold pink, and just giving that a good overall coating, just being careful and aware not to get it anywhere we've already painted up, because there's going to be a lot of work to try fix that up, so we want to try and mitigate that as much as possible. So switch to a smaller brush if you need to, or one with a fine tip so you can really get inside that mouth and paint all in between the tongue and everything. Then once we have his mouth and tongue painted up, we're going to come in now with some necromancer cloak, and we're going to be using this for a small part on the miniature, and that is going to be for his horns and like lumps on his back. Well, I guess it's probably more horns than it is actually lumps. He has quite a few on his shoulder and his back, so we want to be picking those out with necromancer cloak. But we're not going to be painting up the ones that are coming out of his hands and his elbows there. So we want to make sure we avoid those ones. We're going to paint those up a different colour. And of course, don't forget to paint up his toes as well with dark claws. And this is going to help tie it in with the official artwork. That's why I'm following it here. And that's why we're not going to be painting up those big claws he has on his hands. Then once we have that complete, what we're going to be doing now is going to come in with some red tone. And what we're going to be using this for is for inside the mouth here. We're going to be dulling that bright pink tongue down a little bit, and help tie it in, but keep it separate with a different wash. And this is going to help make it, of course, stand a little bit apart from that nice underbelly he has. And just a matter of coming in and getting all inside that mouth and giving it a real good coating, but being careful to avoid getting it on his underbelly or anything like that. We want to try and not taint that as much as possible. Then once we have that complete, what we're going to be doing now is coming back in with our squid pink, and we're just going to be doing some of the highlights. And this is going to be a nice easy highlight. We're basically just going to be highlighting the tongue, and that is of course getting that nice big tongue in there and just hitting the top of it there, as you can see, and leaving that little crease down the middle of his tongue too. We want to keep the wash and the dark colour inside there, and just be picking out that top to give it that nice big bold look with our bright pink. Then once we have that complete, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be coming in with some skeleton bone, and this is going to be for the claws that I said we wanted to leave behind and keep separate from the horns on his back, because we want to be painting them up with some skeleton bone, because like I said, I'm trying to follow the official artwork here, and they actually have two different colours of horns and claws, so we'll keep that separate. And skeleton bone is going to be a nice colour to help also pull a little bit of visual interest around the model as well, give something else to look at and not keep it so samey if we had painted them up black. Okay, then once we have that base coat of the claws done, what we're going to do now is coming in with some seraphim sepia, which of course is a sepia wash, and we want to be washing the bones with that, of course. And I'm going to be especially while this wash is going, I'm putting just a couple of extra layers of the wash on the bottoms of each of these claws. So basically where it connects to the actual skin. I want to put just a couple more layers there once it's dry, just a few more to make it a little bit darker at the base and then lighter at the tip, just to give it a little bit more visual interest and try and make it look like a realistic sort of like bony protrusion coming out of him and giving that interest factor to the model. Then once we have that complete, what we're going to be doing now is coming in with some flat yellow, and this is of course a nice big bold yellow, and we're going to be using this for his eyes, and it's just a matter of carefully dotting them in without accidentally getting it anywhere else. Now also too, I forgot to mention when we're painting up the bones, I also painted in his teeth the exact same way, so don't forget to do that too while you're doing those bones on his hands. And with all that complete, we have finally finished painting up our blue Slaad from the Dungeons & Dragons range by Wizkids. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys, whether you want to follow along with what I did here, or you just want to use this video for inspiration and painting up your own miniatures. But with all that said guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I can't wait to see you all in the next video.